While certain tasks can be prepared for and trained, seasoned officers discovered during a recent call to an address in South Carolina, USA, that there are situations where no amount of training can adequately prepare you. Megan Parker and Will Murphy were two of the best and most experienced cops in Gray Court, South Carolina. They had been patrolling the streets together for over 15 years, facing lots of tough situations, even risking their lives. But they always handled things well, earning everyone's trust. However, sometimes even their experience couldn't help with new and really tough situations. There's no rulebook for every problem in the world. Megan, 38, had been a cop since she was 22, fulfilling her dream. She wasn't married, never wanted a family, and her relationships never lasted. She was dedicated to her work, probably because she had no one else to worry about at home. Her only family were her cat, Felix, and her mom, Helen, who had early Alzheimer's and lived in a day center. Meanwhile, 34-year-old Will Murphy, with whom Megan had been collaborating since her second year as an agent, was the opposite of her partner, but not a worse agent. He had been married since he was 26 and was a happy and proud father to 3 children. For him, his family was the most important thing and his main motivation to go out every day to patrol the streets and face all adversities. They were two complete opposites that had hardly anything in common except their sense of duty and their love of justice. And yet they were the best possible companions, and their friendship grew stronger with each year they spent together. And it will be thanks to their strong friendship and excellent rapport as police officers that will lead them to solve one of the most complex and obscure cases they had to face after working more than 15 years together. It all began one afternoon when the Gray Court Police Department received a distress call from a frightened pregnant woman who claimed to have found her child unconscious in the kitchen of her home. Emergency services referred the call from the mother, whose name was Savannah Victoria Morgan, and requested immediate police intervention to investigate the matter. "Parker, Murphy, I need you to go to an emergency." 911 informed us about a call from a pregnant mother who won't stop screaming and crying, saying her 3-year-old son's unconscious on her kitchen floor. "I don't have a good feeling about this. We've sent an ambulance, but we need someone to check the scene and make a statement. Hurry up, there's no time to lose," ordered their captain, visibly concerned. "Right away, boss," replied the agents in unison as they put on their jackets. "As soon as we have a first report of the facts, we'll let you know. Let's get moving." The police officers rushed to the home of Savannah Victoria Morgan, an 8-month pregnant mother, after her 2-year-old son, Noah, was found unconscious in her bedroom. A call regarding an unresponsive child is distressing enough, but officers couldn't have imagined the harrowing scene they were about to witness at this Gray Court, South Carolina home. Upon arriving at the house, the agents found a house with deplorable living conditions. Throughout their long careers, the two agents had experienced all kinds of situations and had witnessed tragedies, but the misfortune of others was something they could never get used to. Upon entering the house, their hearts were filled with grief. As soon as they stepped inside the house, the two agents knew they were dealing with a really tough situation. Everything was much worse than it seemed at first glance. The scene was really sad from the moment they walked in. They found themselves in a place that no one would want to live in, especially not a pregnant woman and a 3-year-old child. But they were living there, and that was the problem. Megan felt overwhelmed when she saw how bad the apartment was. The floors and walls were dirty, and it was clear that there were serious moisture issues that needed fixing right away. The kitchen was a mess with the smell of old food. The living room was small and had old blankets piled on a small sofa, probably used as a bed. It was freezing cold, and it was hard to think about anything else. But what was really heartbreaking about the place wasn't the condition of the furniture or the messiness. It was the sad situation of the people who lived there. They had been told at the police station that there was a child lying on the floor in the kitchen. He looked like he might be dead, but thankfully he wasn't. The paramedics rushed to take his vitals, and although the boy was very weak, he was still alive. He needs to be taken away quickly. He still has a pulse, but it's weak. This child's very dehydrated, and by the looks of him in the house, I wouldn't say he's eaten much in the last few days either. Start an IV with saline and check his blood counts at all times. "When we get to the hospital, we'll be able to know more about the condition," instructed the chief paramedic while examining the child and preparing him to be taken away on the stretcher of the ambulance that was coming through the door at that moment. The child's mom looked relieved when she heard that her son was okay. "Noah, sweetie, can you hear me? It's Mommy. I'm here. I won't let you go alone. Let me go with him," the woman begged, upset to see her son being taken away without her. It was clear that the woman, who was very pregnant, wasn't doing well either. She looked pale, tired, her hands were shaking, and her eyes showed she hadn't slept well in days. Megan felt really bad seeing the woman in such a state. After making sure the child was still alive and taking some pictures, Megan told her partner that she would talk to the mother while he continued with his work. "It won't be easy to talk to her. Good luck. I'll be nearby if you need help. Murphy said kindly as he continued writing the report and taking pictures. Parker spoke to Mrs. Morgan in a calm voice, asking her to sit down on some old chairs next to the TV and a small table. The woman was still nervous, but she did as the agent asked her to. "They're going to take my son away from me, right? They'll take him away, and he'll end up living in one of those foster homes. But I won't give up, do you hear me? I won't," Mrs. Morgan began saying very nervously. She couldn't stop crying and caressed her belly instinctively, almost obsessively, as if the baby inside her were her last home. Megan didn't know how to start the interrogation or conversation. It was clear that the woman was not stupid and knew what was going to happen after that incident and the investigation that the police and social services would conduct in the following days. Still, Parker didn't want to bring the woman down any further. Instead of telling her what she already knew, she focused on trying to find out what she was hiding. No one lives this way by choice. That young mother was hiding a sad story that had led to that terrible accident, and the sooner she told her, the better off they would all be. No one wants to take your child away from you. We took him to the hospital to save his life, not to steal him. We're not the enemy, Mrs. Morgan. We're here to help you. You can trust me and my team. We can help you, but I need you to be very honest with me. Do you understand? If you don't tell me the truth, I won't be able to do anything for you, and your son will end up in foster care. Do you want that?" Megan tried to be gentle, but there was no good way to tell a mother that her child might be taken away from her. Morgan nodded and, wiping away her tears, agreed to tell the police the whole truth, but on one condition, that they let her go to the hospital to see her son. "Don't worry, you can go to the hospital to see your child. We're not mean people, and it's important for you to go too. You don't look well, and you're pregnant. We need to make sure everything's okay, said the agent gently, trying to calm the worried mother. "Okay, I'll go with you to the hospital, but please promise me that my son will be okay. I just want both my kids to be safe and healthy. I'm trying my best," she said before bursting into tears again. "No one's blaming you, ma'am. I know you want what's best for your kids, but first you need to take care of yourself. Tell me everything and we'll figure things out together. Don't worry, we're not rushing. Your son is in good hands and soon you'll be with him," Megan reassured her. Understanding her feelings and her words helped to calm the woman down, even if just for a little while. In the next hour, Mrs. Savannah Victoria Morgan shared her whole story with Officer Parker. It was really sad and made the police officer feel sad too. Savannah's husband, Stephen Morgan, had been killed more than 8 months ago after a fight outside a bar. He had a problem with gambling, and instead of being with his family, he spent his money playing poker. Unfortunately, he got into trouble with dangerous people, and they decided to hurt him and steal from their home. Savannah was left with almost nothing, and she was scared for her life and her children's lives. "When those men threatened me, I was paralyzed and could only think of my child and the one I was carrying. My husband died without knowing he was going to be a father again, although honestly, I think it would have been better if he hadn't known. It would have only made him more miserable. My son's very small and starving, you've seen it. I don't care what happens to me, but my children are the most valuable thing I have. Please don't take away my little boy from me. I need him so much," the mother confessed, holding her hands to her face and breaking down in tears again. "Don't worry, Mrs. Morgan. You and your son will be safe. You did the right thing by telling me the truth. We'll make sure those bad people go to jail. I promise," Parker assured her, feeling touched by her story. True to his word, Morgan was able to see her son Noah at the hospital a few hours later. Noah was okay and would get better from his sickness. The mother and baby stayed in the hospital for a week while the police looked into their situation. Parker arranged for Morgan and her child to go into a program that keeps them safe and helps them start a new life in Montana. There they could live without fear or hunger, and Morgan could bring her baby into the world without being scared. It's something every person should have, but Morgan lost it because she loved the wrong person. Now she can sleep peacefully and raise her children in freedom, thanks to the police and Parker, who made sure the law was followed and everyone was safe.